Hello all, my name is Harpreet and I'm going to be your trainer for this ITIL V3 knowledge base session. In this session, we would be covering that what is ITIL and how does it relate to people, process, functions and IT service management. So, what's on the agenda? About ITIL and service management, ITIL V3 versus ITIL V2, ITIL V3 process and functions pointing on to ITIL lifecycle module, high-level view of processes and functions on lifecycle module. Here we go. So to begin with, what's the difference between ITIL and IT service management? So ITIL is a collection of best practices, models, people, processes, and functions. Overall, it helps us in managing IT services effectively and efficiently. It can always be organized as a system or a structure as per business requirement. Hence, it is also termed as framework. Now, what's ITISM? It's IT service management. It's a set of organized capabilities of an organization offering services to the customers with the help of ITIL framework, ensuring business objectives are fulfilled. IT service management include activities like planning and managing operational services, delivering quality services per recognized standards within agreed service levels, cost-effective solutions pointing on scalability, availability, and customer satisfaction. Moving on. So, what's the difference between ITIL version 2 and ITIL version 3? Now, it's a basic difference. ITIL version 2 had two modules only, that was service support and service delivery, whereas ITIL v3 has also two modules, but those were capability modules it's capability module and lifecycle module. Now, capability module and lifecycle module are more or less focused on processes and functions. They have interdependencies. However, service support and service delivery were not at all dependent upon functions and processes. Overall, ITIL version 2 lacked streamlining. However, ITIL version 3 was more streamlined as compared to ITIL version 2. ITIL v2 was developed in early 90s, whereas ITIL v3 was developed in 2011. Now moving on, this is a picture of the ITIL v3 lifecycle module. So as we can see that it has different processes and sub-processes. So to begin with, it's IT strategy. It's about how you strategize your portfolio. Then moving on, we have service design. It's about how you develop and how you design your service design while offering products and services to the end customers. Then you actually transition the service strategy and service design into service transition. That's how you develop your services, your product, and you implement them via transitioning phase. And then this transitioning phase moves on to the operations. That is how you offer business as usual support to the end customers. You stabilize your environment. That is operations phase. And then operation phase points on to continual service improvement, which is also termed as CSI. Now it's about the overall areas of opportunity that's being identified and how you mitigate them, how you remediate them. You have a 7-step improvement plan, that's teaming cycle. You have ROI for CSI, and then you have service management, right? So what we're going to do is that we'll take a high-level view of all the sub-processes, that is service strategy, service design, service transition. Also, we would be taking a high-level view of service operation and CSI. So to begin with, we are covering service strategy. So first of all, it is strategy management for IT services. Now, prior go ahead, I'd like to say that the service strategy process has got 4 P's. That's position, plan, pattern, and perspective. So when you are strategizing your portfolio, you have to look at these 4 key features. That's What's your position? What's your plan? What's the pattern that has been identified? And what's your perspective? So, strategy management for IT services, you know, it assesses the service provider's offerings and capabilities. You develop strategy to serve customers considering competitors in the market. Then comes the service portfolio management. So it's all about managing the portfolio of services. How you go about that is that you follow DAAC, that's define, analyze, approve, charter. Moving on, you have demand management. So what it does is that it helps us to understand, anticipate, and influence customer demand for services. Moving on, we have financial management for IT services. So what it does is that it helps you to manage budgeting, accounting, and charging requirement as a service provider or as an OEM offering end services to the customer in terms of product. Then we have business relationship management. So, what it does is that you maintain a positive you maintain a positive relationship with customers, identifying the needs of existing and potential customers. You ensure appropriate services are developed to meet those needs. You know, you care for your customers, and that is how you build a brand. So that's pretty much about service strategy. So moving on, we have service design. Now, as the name suggests, service design, this one also has 4 P's. So what are those 4 P's? That's people, process, products, and partners. These are the 4 P's. Now in service design, you actually design and you develop the services or the products. So to begin with, we are first of all starting with design coordination. So to coordinate, what it does is that it helps you to coordinate all service design activities, processes, and resources. It ensures effective design of new or change services via service management, information system, architectures, process, information, and metrics. Then we have service catalog management. So service catalog management has all the accurate information on all operational services and those which are being prepped or are in pipeline. If someone wants to know what all ITSM processes, service details, their current status, and the service interdependencies are, then this is the right space, service catalog management. Then comes the service level agreement. So if you are a service provider for IT services, you would have certain SLA. You negotiate the SLA, you design the SLA in a way so that delivery rate meets consistently. SLA could be designed on different aspects like availability, resolution, or any other SLA. For example, time to resolve, time to respond. That's the SLA that you maintain. Right now, there's a concept to service level management. Service level management could not be completed without this concept. That's CBA or BCA. It's also termed as cost and benefit analysis or benefits and cost analysis. So what exactly it is, I'll tell you about it. It is a systematic approach to estimating the strengths and weakness of alternatives that satisfy transactions, activities, or functional requirements for a business. In order to assess the benefits of a given business related action are summed and then costs associated with taking that action are subtracted. So in a way, you're actually calculating that what's the cost versus the benefits, or what's the cost benefits benefits versus the costs. Moving on, we have risk management. So as the name suggests, risk management. So what it does is that it helps you to identify, assess, and control risks. This includes analyzing the value of assets to the business, identifying threats to those assets, and evaluating how vulnerable each asset is to those threats. Moving on, we have capacity management. So what it does is that it ensures that IT resources are right sized to meet the current and future business requirement. It follows three sub processes. Those are business capacity, service capacity, and component capacity. Moving on, we have availability management. So what it does is that it defines, analyze, plan, measure, and improve all aspects of the availability of IT services. So if the availability management is not in place, the uptime of CI would not be calculated or could not be calculated. Then comes the IT service continuity management. So what it does is that it helps to manage the risks that could severely impact IT services. It ensures that the risks are reduced to an acceptable level and planning for the recovery of IT services is in place. There's a famous saying for this one: show must go on no matter what. So you must have some kind of a BCP, a business continuity plan. You must have some kind of a failover, or your devices should have some resilience mode. It could be at the device level or it could be at the site level, but something at the back end as a backup method or a failover or a secondary method should be available at your place, so that business should be up and running for customers and they should not feel any outages at all. Moving on, we have information security management. So what it does is that it is one of the core process of service design, as it ensures confidentiality, integrity, and availability of an organization's information, data, and IT services. It is because of information security that the products, like you have firewalls, you have you have all the security management devices in there, right? Had the information security not been there in the world, none of the security devices like firewall, PICs, checkpoint would not be existing in there. Moving on, we have compliance management. To which, what it does is that it ensures that IT services, processes, systems comply with the enterprise policies and legal requirements. So if you are an OEM or a service provider, you should have a compliance management team which actually helps you to come up with the EULA, that's end user license agreement. You know that's how you begin the processes, and that's how you educate the users if they are trying to go legally. That's EULA and user license agreement. Moving on, we have supplier management. So what it does is that it ensures that all contracts with suppliers support the needs of businesses, and that all suppliers meet their contractual commitment contributing to service delivery. Supply management, that's what it does. And then we have architecture management. So what it does is it's the blueprint of technological landscape, taking into account the service strategy. It points on to the applications, technology, newly available techniques, and how are they going to work. You know, that's the pretty much blueprint of all the services, all the processes, the technology, the new services, the upcoming services, and any of the new technology that you're going to be working upon. That's the overview of architecture management. That's what it does. Moving on, we have service transition. So what it does is that service transition is actually a phase wherein we are transitioning the services. So to begin with, we have project management. That's transitioning and planning support. So there's a team that's project management. It would comprise of people like service delivery management. It would have an executive like a delivery project executive. So what this team does is that they identify the existing requirements which needs to be fulfilled in order for service line or a line of business to render services to the customers. At the same point in time, they will also look into the future forecasting requirements of the service line. That is uh, transitioning planning and support team, which is also called as project management team. Then comes the change management. So what change management does is that this team would actually ensure that all the changes which are introduced in the environments like test environment, production environment, or QA environment gets implemented, however, with least of disruption. Moving on, we have change evaluation. Change evaluation. So what it does is that it assesses the major changes like the introduction of new service or a substantial change to an existing service before those changes are allowed to proceed to the next phase in their life cycle. Moving on, we have release and deployment management. So what it does is that it helps you to plan, schedule, and control the movement of releases to test and live environments. The primary goal of release management is to ensure that the integrity of the live environment is protected and the correct components are released. Moving on, we have service validation and testing. So what it does is that it helps to ensure that the deployed releases and the resulting services meet customer expectations and to verify that IT operations is able to support the new service. Moving on, we have application development team. So what it does is that it helps to develop certain applications that you may have in your environment. So what's the objective of application development is to make available applications and systems which provide the required functionality for IT services. It also includes the development and maintenance of custom applications as well as the customization of products from different software vendors that you may partner with, that you may collaborate with. Moving on, we have service asset and configuration management. So I believe, guys, you may have heard about CMDB, that's Configuration Management Database. So, this CMDB is directly linked with this sub-process, that is Service Asset and Configuration Management, right? So what this process does is that it captures all the records of all the CIs in the environment and what all relationships each CI would have with other CIs if there are any dependencies in there. That is Service Asset and Configuration Management. Then we have knowledge management. So what knowledge management does is that it helps to gather, analyze, store, and share knowledge and information within an organization. So if you are looking for some kind of a space so that you could, talk to your user community or your support engineers community, you come up with a space and you store all the documents which could be taken up as a resolution document for end customers. So you have a kind of a space there. That's knowledge management. That's how you go. So we're done with the service transition, moving on to service operation. So now service operation is a process wherein you start delivering in the BAU manner, in the business as usual manner. So to begin with, we have request fulfill management. So request fulfill management is a process which is catering to like service requests. A service request could be like a parcel reset or a procurement request, or even an SR may invoke to an incident, problem, or a change. Now, moving on, we have access management. So what access management does is that it ensures that only the essential or the indispensable accesses, the authorized accesses, are delegated in the environment. It also ensures that none of the non-authorized accesses are not prevailing in the system. Then we have event management. So what event management does is event management, it's about the triggers, the alarms that may be existing there in your environment for devices like servers, switches, routers. That's event management. And then what, if you have any events in there, it further triggers upon incident management, which is our next process. So What incident management does is that it ensures that any of the incident which is there and is an unplanned interruption to the environment, then the services are restored with the least amount of time. It ensures that all the services are restored within service level, which is there agreed or is mentioned as a contractual agreement. Then we have problem management. So let's say that you have an incident which has been invoked, then it would be resolved, it would be restored by the incident management team. However, problem management team would ensure that those incidents which were unplanned should not and must not occur in the environment. And it also ensures that the root cause is identified and those errors are permanently fixed, or those incidents are permanently fixed. Moving on, we have facilities management. So what facilities management is a process that takes care of your daily or routine admin facilities. Technically, facilities management, IT operations control, application management, and technical management, these are the core functions in service operation. So facilities management pretty much manage your facilities, without which we cannot have an infrastructure, and without the infrastructure, the end services cannot be rendered to the end customers. Moving on, we have IT operations control. So as the name suggests, it's the IT team that takes care of the infrastructure on which the whole portfolio is designed. Few services which are technical services or IT services which are prevailing in the system, without which we would not be able to render services to the end customers. Again, we have application management. So it's like a process which is they are taking care of the CRM. Like you have customer relationship management process or a CRM application which takes care of all the documentation when you are providing services to the end user. So that is what is done by application management. Then we have technical management. So technical management is, I would say, a group of tactical expertise. They'll be like HODs or COOs, Chief Operating Officer, or you would have solution designers in there, or you would have solution architects in there, right? Engineering team. So they would actually analyze the day in day out problems which are faced at the service level or at the product level, and they would ensure that those issues are fixed so that customer should not face any problem at his or her end. That's pretty much about service operations. Now, moving on, we have continual service improvement. So what continual service improvement does is that it educates us about the areas of opportunity that we identify during service operation. Not only that, it also helps us to mitigate them. So there are different processes that you actually maintain. For example, you have Six Sigma, you have deeming cycle. That's also termed as 7-step improvement plan. So technically, we're going to be speaking on the first one. That's service review. So what you do is that you review your services. That's the first one. And then what all services are reviewed, you actually evaluate those processes, right? Then you identify the areas of opportunity, and then you ensure that you monitor them so that you end up with gap analysis. You start initiating a program basis which you remediate them, and you ensure that all those issues are fixed. So what we could refer to is a deeming cycle. So it's a 7-step improvement plan which is also a part of CSI, right? So it's a 7-step improvement plan that's identify, define, gather, process, analyze, present, and implement. So what identify does is that you identify the applicable objectives, you define what is it that needs to be measured, and then you gather the data, you process the data, you know, you analyze the trending. If there is any analysis based on the gap analysis that needs to be done, where are we? Um, what is it that we have found, right? Have we reached there? That's gap analysis. And then, basis those analysis, you sort the required information. You sort the areas of opportunity, I'm sorry. And you try mitigating them, you try remediating them. And then finally, when you know that yes, these are the few areas of opportunity that needs to be worked upon, then uh, you try to create an action plan basis which it could be remediated once and for all, right? So that's pretty much about continuous service improvement. That's about it. So what we have learned today is that we'll take a review of one of what we have learned today. So what we have done is that we have taken a tour of all the processes and sub processes of lifecycle module, right? We have learned that what's ITIL, what's ITSM. We have also learned that what is the difference between ITIL version 2 and ITIL version 3. Then we have taken a tour of the ITIL v3 lifecycle module, and then we have understood the sub processes which are following in service strategy, the sub processes which are following under service design, right? And then the sub processes which are there existing in service transition, as you can see, and then these sub processes which are there in service operations, and then the sub processes which are there for continual service improvement. Thank you all, and you have a great day ahead. Cheers.